Hello, it's Jang here with the Mega Bloks Halo Vulture gunship. This is from Halo Wars, of course. This set comes with 1,031 pieces. I didn't think that they would be able to pull off a Vulture gunship within a reasonable budget to actually be able to sell to folks as something other than a signature series set. Because in-game, or in-universe, this is a very, very large craft. But what they've done to allow it to be something that could actually be produced and sold and maybe even be purchased by folks who are not millionaires is that they scaled the whole thing down. They changed the proportions a little bit, I'd say, but mostly they scaled it down. So minifigures next to it look relatively large. And I think the key thing that really gets across the scale of it is when you open up this very nice canopy piece here, and you realize that there's only a single seat in there. So there's the pilot in place, and I think that really just explains what exactly they've done to make this thing a reality. So there you go. They had to skimp on size, but I feel like they didn't skimp on design. I feel like this thing looks pretty righteous from most angles. That said, not all the proportions are exactly correct to the in-game model, but there's really nothing here that bothers me at all as someone who played the game extensively and became very familiar with looking at the craft in-game. This looks pretty proper. Clear stand not included here. I just wanted to show you some alternate angles. I feel like they did a very good job of capturing some of these non-standard angles of the actual construction. My favorite technique is right here. It's a little feathering technique that they used that's quite literally feathering. It's done exactly like feathers. I mean, it's the most literal interpretation of the technique. They just have a couple of pieces here, mostly flat pieces, that are just at slightly different angles. They're just kind of freely placed there, but they kind of just butt up against the next part underneath of them. It just helps to smooth that area in. They got these angled out pretty nicely here. There's a piece inside. It's one of those joint pieces, ratcheted joint pieces that's able to rotate on multiple axes, and in the instructions they tell you exactly how many clicks to move the thing to get it to just the right location. So that's very nice. The little winglets and things have various different angles on them. You know, a lot of this stuff is actually quite nicely done, and it was a very, very worthy build. It took me, I don't know, three and a half hours to build the thing. And along the way I was using a lot of different parts, a lot of different techniques. It does have a very sturdy main box construction to it, like some of the other large Mega Bloks sets where you've got just bricks, straight up bricks, just a wall of them going down each side here. So the thing is very well built. It's sturdy and it's heavy. And what you see up here on top, of course, is the pair of rows of air-to-surface missile banks for your barrage ability, and these are printed pieces. As a matter of fact, everything on this set that looks like a design is a printed piece. There's not a single sticker in this whole set. Very much appreciated there. Unfortunately, there are not actually missiles under here, but there is some stuff under here that you can use for play, display, storage or whatnot. We'll look at that in just a minute. I've also got, of course, your air-to-air missile turrets out here, and those can be turned around, and they can also be angled up and down, although you do want to be careful here. If you push down on the ends of the tubes, these little cone pieces can fall off, so just hold on to the black part. No friction in the rotation here, unfortunately, so if you kind of mess around with it a little bit, it'll tend to change the pose, but that's really not that big of a deal. And then of course you've got your cannons up front, one pair on either side, and these are able to rotate side to side, and they also can be turned up and down, although with just the little clear feet on this model that pretty much leave it on the ground, you're not able to get all the full range out of these, so you need to come up with your own stand to lift this up above the ground if you want to get the more realistic pose with those guns. Now what they did under here is just provide troop carrying space. Let there be light. Aha! 2 seats on either side. They'll just fit a Spartan or a Marine or whatever, and there's a ramp on the back that works all Pelican style. unfortunately, from the side and from the back, you can see that because of how low this thing sits to the ground, you're not really able to do a whole lot with that ramp, scale wise, but it is there. And if you do add more parts, more clear bits or something to get this higher up in the air, then you will be able to angle that ramp down much farther, and then you can actually do some posing there with some figures actually walking down the ramp. Speaking of figures, my favorite segue. Here we go with the figures. Left to right, Spartan Locke himself. Yes, the very first Spartan Locke official figure from Mega Bloks. Here it is. And I very deliberately said the very first because they're going to be doing more of these, more different variations. They'll probably come out with something with a slightly different visor color for some reason. They'll probably come out with a slightly different armor color for some reason. And I'm certain that they will come up with a battle damaged version of this figure. So expect to see more of Locke in the future, but this is the first one, and I think it is a very good first one. They made him look nice and sleek, put no armor on the arms, nice colors, good choice of the gunmetal there against the black. It's close, it's subtle, it works very nicely. Oh yeah, and then there are two other figures too. You get a pilot figure right there with the olive green color. I think that looks great. Perfect throwback to an earlier version that they did before, but now we get it with the full articulation. It's almost an ODST figure, except for just the helmet there. And then a Enforcer Spartan. And the color is, it's the official, it's a metallic blue. Steel, it's called. Steel. Taking the time to perfect the beats, and I still got love for the streets. No, steel. I like that color. I like that color quite a lot. It's ingrained in my head as the Promethean color. I think it worked really well with them, but I think it works really well with just about anything. You kind of can't go wrong with that. It's almost like a black. It's like the black of blues to me. There's just something that's just perfect about it. The level of metallic sheen to it. It's not too much, and it is definitely not too little, but a great selection of figures. However, weapons, question mark? Yeah, weapons, period, paragraph, sincerely yours. Thank you very much. Left to right, this is where they get stored, which is very convenient. Left to right, it's the newer style of rocket launcher that's very divisive. Some folks hate it because it's different. Some folks hate it because of how it is different, like legitimately. Some folks like it, it's just always the way it's going to be. In the middle is just a black Magnum, and on the right is a DMR. So you can give one of these to each of the figures included in the set. The recommended loadout would be rocket launcher for the Enforcer, sidearm for the pilot, just as a weapon of last resort after a crash landing, and then the DMR for the Osiris team leader. So what do you know? They did it. They released a kind of minifig scale, minifig usable Vulture. I think it's really good. The thing that I like the least about it is the color. I wish they had gone with a more saturated and lighter green color, just to be a little bit closer to the game, a little bit more accurate. Might not have looked as cool on the shelf, but to me as a collector and as someone who played way too much of Halo Wars itself, I would prefer a little bit more realism, but maybe that's just me. Let me know what you think about that. I think that the size of this, which is probably going to be the most controversial thing amongst fans in general, I think is fine. Could it have been larger? Yes. Ought it to have been larger? Perhaps. But if they made it larger, if they made it more appropriate to scale, then it would have been significantly more expensive. And the number of people who could have actually gotten their hands on this would have been a fraction of what it is now. So, there's always a compromise that has to be made if you're gonna try to do something that is large to the scale of the figures that you have available. You're gonna have to size the thing down. Either that, or you're gonna have to make a ridiculously expensive set. I think that they made the right choice here. I'm happy with this. I think that the overall design choices are good, the build is good, the angles are good, the proportions are fine. They are definitely not perfect, but I'm happy, I'm satisfied with this. I think that the design team did a really good job with this set, as something to be sold in stores to the masses, most of the masses being kids. But that's it for my look at this one. I hope that you enjoyed this. I hope that I showed you everything you wanted to see about it. You can check out the speed build video also if you want to. Please do share your thoughts, what you think about this, including anything that disagrees with my opinion. It's all good as long as you share your thoughts in a respectful way. And keep it clean, because there are kids out there. There are parents out there too. Thanks for watching. I'll be talking to you again soon.